Thank you very much for joining us. This is Charlie Lofton, the lead pastor at the Grove Church, and have with us again Mark Freeman. What's up, dude?
Good, man. That's good.
You've been killing it, man. We're just kind of walking through discipleship, and you've been just giving us great advice and definitions, and you're just crushing it, man. You're discipling all of us. You're the executive pastor at the Grove, and working together for a few years, and we kind of grew up through the same ministry in college, kind of learning about discipleship. Both had very similar stories about, some like a guy, a mentor, a potential mentor anyway, approaching us and kind of sharing with us a different vision for life that beyond just what I would just call nominal faith of just going to church and trying to be relatively good, but a real picture of what it is that God is calling to us in life, and a discipleship, which we defined in Matthew 28 as being baptized, which is essentially being a follower, a real understanding of the gospel, and it's really transformed us. But then the big piece being knowing how to obey every command. And so in the process of that, it kind of, again, for both of us, we kind of had this vision kind of cast for us of what Christian life is supposed to be, just in my own life, and then also doing this for other people. That this is not just simply about being religious. It's not about going to church. It's not about being a relatively good person. It's not about I'm trying to get some self-help so I can have a better life for me, but about pursuing God in a life of discipleship. So let's just imagine, I know we have to stretch our brains, that after people listening to us 3 times talk about this, that we've got some people, at least one person who's motivated to say, I think I would like to pursue discipleship in a deeper, better, more intentional way than what I am. We just started real broad base, and we can kind of narrow it down. What advice would you give to someone like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing about, our stories, it is difficult for me to think about. I mean, I go back to what this guy, Tim, did with me. And it's funny how we, talk about the need for a mentor, a need for somebody else in your life. It's a roadmap was kind of laid out. And through the years, as you said 30 years ago or something, I'm not quite that long, but through the years, it just seems like as I've tried to help other people, it's similar things. And so, knowing the commands, so looking at my life and taking an evaluation has always kind of been the first step. Like, all right, there's a degree to which I understand and have studied God's word, but where is that deficient, and how big of a part of my life is that? Relating to God and in prayer, my understanding of that, my practice of that. How big a part of my life is that? Where is my understanding of that or practice of it deficient? My relationship with other believers, how much of my life, how big of a part of my life is that? Each right. One of those different things, having some way to look at it and take an evaluation of where I am, and, a clearer picture of where I want to be, or where I believe that for me to practice discipleship would look like. And then to begin making some kind of plan of how I'm going to get from here to there.
Right. There's always some new trendy diet book. There's always some new trendy way of exercising. There's always some new trend. But really, if somebody says, "Man, I want to be healthy." I mean, eat better, exercise more. I mean, it just really comes down to those two principles. And then the reason why they can sell so many new books and so much different types of equipment is our brain kind of isn't necessarily wired to want to do that. And it's just all these different creative ways of motivating people to do really just some really simple, basic things. And I think discipleship is really similar to that. I mean, it seems kind of funny to me. It's like just about any question that you would ask is going, now we're going to get down to practical things. What do you need to do practically? Well, you need to read the Bible and pray, go to church, try to be a better person. I mean, we want it to be more complicated than that, but I think it really just about covers it. I mean, I need to be in good Jesus said, love God, love people. Everything else will take care of itself from that. I love God well by by hearing what he has to say, by pursuing a relationship with him through prayer. I love other people well by the way that I treat them, by being in fellowship with them, by helping them, by allowing them into my life. I mean, just the basic principles. I mean, it's like we don't have to make it more complicated than what it is. I need to be reading the Bible more and better. I need to be praying more and better. I mean, I don't want to oversimplify it too soon. We've got an entire podcast episode of content to fill up here, but sometimes I do feel like we just make things too complicated. Mm-hmm. You feel that?
Yeah. And because that seems so daunting, I think that's the reason a lot of people don't ever go down that road, because they think it's too complicated.
What makes it complicated?
Sometimes the way the church talks about it,
Yeah.
I think there's also an idea back in there somewhere of the person, like the paid Christian worker, they're at a different level. Of course they study the Bible. Of course they pray regularly. But the normal guy out there,
right?
That's not practice for them. And so it's like people don't even think about what it would look like to pursue him in that way, because they don't have a good model, honestly.
Yeah, so we teach the Bible in a way that makes it seem like it's impossible to understand, and you need some guru to unlock the mystery to you.
Right.
And then we start praying.
And it's all...
And we start adding TH to things, and we start doeth and thous and using words like propitiation, and you're like, well, I can't do that either. And so, yeah, we mystify just good old fashioned spiritual disciplines that were meant to be easily accessed. And so then people feel like they get discouraged.
Exactly.
You say, read the Bible and pray, and I'm causing a panic attack.
Right.
Which again, I think is very similar to eat less, work out more. It is that simple, but if it were only that simple, then everyone would be healthy. And if it were as simple as read the Bible more and pray more, then everyone would be a disciple. But there are some things that I think that hold us back. And so what are some other, like, okay, so I want to do that. What do I need around me, or what changes do I need to make? Or what are some practical things in order to, I want to start doing these basic things more and better, but I'm stuck.
Yeah. And I think this is the place that other person really is such a huge help. I've taken this inventory of my life. I really would like to study the Bible more and understand it more. Having eyes that are looking for, and that you're praying and asking God to reveal that person who could help you understand it better, who could give you the tools to be able to study it better. I've experienced in my own life and in the lives of others that prayer is one that God tends to answer. Hey, God, I really want to grow in my understanding of how to study your word. Would you bring somebody into my life that could help me?
That's good. And I think the accountability piece in that too, of just, I remember this in college. Again, this was after I started in that Bible study with that guy. One of the things that he assigned us was he gave us this little sheet with 30 verses on it. And it was called the Taste and See Experiment, which is, I don't know that I would ever give someone that to someone and call it the Taste and See Experiment. It comes from a Bible verse, of course, where I think it's in Psalms, taste and see that the Lord is good. And so it was an invitation to devotionally read the Bible over 30 days and just see what God would do. And one of the guys in the Bible study, he and I decided, hey, we both had the same class period off, that we were just going to meet at my room at this time every day and do this assignment together. And so two relatively inexperienced 18, 19-year-old kids sitting there with a Bible, reading these verses, talking about it, writing stuff down and praying. It was one of the most transformative months of my life. And it wasn't because there was anybody in that room who knew what they were talking about. It wasn't because there was a whole lot of spiritual maturity and depth. It was just two idiots pursuing God together. And God did a huge work and built a friendship in that month that has lasted a lifetime, and put me, I would say it was probably one of the most significant things that ever happened in my life that kind of got me off the bad path I was on into the path that I was heading down to the path that I'm on now. So just having somebody with the same heart as you, same desires as you is a huge thing.
Yeah, and I love what you just said about the heart, because what made that study different than maybe others that you were part of before that? I know the times that I've been in places like that with others, it is that there is a unified passion and desire to really get our hearts and minds around this and to love Jesus, you know? I mean, what he does with that, the way that our God responds to a heart like that, you know, his presence, his power, his transformational working, man, it has a lot to do with that. To be a disciple is, I mean, it's not just I'm going to go do, you talked about that last time, but not where I'm not just going to go do this thing. Right. Oh, I got to go to Bible study today. Oh, let's talk about this because we got to talk about it. But it's, man, what could we find here? What gold are we going to mine out of this verse, you know?
So again, if we think about what we've talked about before, the order of the way that this goes, that God transforms us with the gospel, and then he does this, the Spirit comes and does this work inside of us, and then we have the motivation to do what it is that God's called us to do. I think if we're struggling with a motivation problem, I think that's a spiritual function more than a task function. Like, I'm struggling with motivation. Well, just keep doing it anyway. I'm saying you should stop doing good things because you don't want to. But the flip side of it is, if you've got a motivation problem, there's a connection that's off. There's a relational connector that's off. We're not allowing God's voice to be present. I mean, I think I would encourage people to just talk to God about it.
Right.
Like, just invite God into what it is that you're struggling with, because there is a significant portion of this that God said he would do.
Right.
Like, if one of my goals in discipleship is to be a less angry person, that is primarily a work of the Spirit. And so I need to invite him in. And even as I'm saying that, I'm like, bro, that is a lot of spiritual words that you kind of threw there. I don't even I know what that means. We'll get two people together and ask each other what you think that means. Like, I think, and I really do think we have missed out on how important growing with people is. I think we have just become an incredibly individualistic group. But I think people younger than us understand this better than we do. Yeah. Just the need that if I'm going to do this, we're going to have to do it together.
Yeah. I was also thinking again, when we talk about discipleship, we're talking about actual practice, not just the knowledge side of it. And to me, that seems like the huge shift that happened for me, from knowing more and more and more about Jesus and knowing more and more about these things, to actually asking the question, okay, what does it look like to do these things? That new thing that I learned, how does that translate into life, actually into life? And I just think the bulk of our church meetings don't.
Right.
I mean, they're growing our understanding, but very rarely is it moved over into application. And that's where discipleship happens.
I also feel like the times that I've done the best in my growth, I've had goals. I've set specific goals of things that I want to do. I want to read the Bible in this period of time. I want to pray this much. I want to learn this. I want to read so many books. Like to have some purpose and intentionality, I think helps me. Having a buddy and having goals, I think, are really helpful to me. And again, I'm just going to get a little commercially maybe, but I really believe in church. I really believe in sitting with a group of, a few dozen, a few hundred people, and worship music is being played, and we are pouring out our heart and reminding each other of how great God is. And you walk in there, and someday you're the one that's reminding your neighbor, and someone's your neighbor reminding you you're there because I don't know why I'm there. But then I'm sitting here in the presence of a few hundred people reminding me through song and through powerful music of the goodness and greatness of God, of just feeding off of somebody else's spiritual energy that day, and then hearing from God's word and just being motivated. And so I think there's probably two groups of people out there. There's probably people that are just, that the extent of their discipleship is that 1 hour. And there are people out there that have lost their vision for how powerful that hour can be. But I think if we are connecting with each other, we're connecting at a large group level, corporately coming together. And then we've also got a small group of people around us, like most churches have a small group, community group, Sunday school, something like that. I've got a small group of people that I am we are collectively deciding we're doing this together. And then I've maybe got one or two really special intentional relationships where this person is really helping me, or we are really helping each other. I'm really helping him. Like I've got these intentional one-on-one relationships. And then with no other people, just me and God, I'm pursuing a relationship with him. I think that is probably one of the best, most practical pieces of advice I think I've ever gotten, is really thinking about a pursuit of God and all the pluses that come from each one of those. And you put all four of those together. I'm personally pursuing God. I've got some one or two people that I'm really close with. I'm studying and learning and growing with a group. And then I am corporately worshiping and learning. I think all of those pieces together, I think too many people are trying to do one or two of those things in isolation. You put all of those things together, I think we would all be very pleasantly surprised by how much our life has been transformed in 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, 30 years, mm-hmm. 30 years. Any last words?
No, I just really like that. I think the large group, depending on personality type and makeup, extrovert, introvert, like there's people who, being there on Sunday morning's easy, and talking with a bunch of people and being around a bunch of people is easy. Getting alone with Jesus is hard, and others that it's the other way around. But whatever your makeup, it just seems like you're right. All four of those, they just play these different roles and pressing us towards deeper walk with Jesus.
And I'll add a bit of controversy to the end here, and I say probably whichever one of those you like the least is probably the most important one for you.
Yeah.
And it's when we are stretching ourselves beyond our comfort level, I think God shows up in pretty cool ways there.
Bro.
Well, man, thanks again, man. This has been a great series, and so glad that you were a part of this and just kind of dropping your wisdom on discipleship and just being honest about your past and kind of things you struggled with and giving us some great tips. Man, I really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody else for joining us. And again, we would love to see you at the Grove Church, either online at thegrovechurch.org or on a Sunday morning in person, or you can catch our stream. We would love to connect with you. Thanks again for being with us.